Good afternoon, YouTube. It's Art again. I normally build or make videos of guitar amplifiers that I make, but today I wanted to make a video on how to refret your guitar the correct way. And the reason why I say that is because I've seen a lot of videos on YouTube where people use something like this to sand their fretboard or to level the frets, and you cannot use something like this. This is the wrong tool to do something like that. There's no way that you could get the radius even going like this. You can't count how many times you went here or count how many times you went here or here. You just can't do it. And then you might come off to the side, and you can't do it. You just can't do it with this thing. And I have it to show it to you guys. I use it for other things, and I tried it once, and again, you just can't do it. Then you have this smaller one that some people use, like this, and again, you cannot use something like this. You have to make sure that you have the right tools. You have to know what kind of radius is on your neck. Like, for example, this is a 9.5 radius, right? So it's kind of like a vintage style. This is actually a Warmoth neck. You could see that. I bought this in 2011, and I wanted to use it on my my SRV, my version of the SRV guitar, and I just couldn't set it up to where it was playable or comfortable or enjoyable to play, and it just didn't feel right. And I leveled the frets, and it still didn't feel right. I just couldn't figure it out. So I just got really tired, 6 years later, and I removed the frets. And when I started sanding the fretboard, I noticed that there was a bunch of lower parts compared to the other parts on the fretboard. There's like low parts. So just to give you an example, like right here, this is a low part, and it was a lot bigger. I got it down. I sanded it to the point where there's minimal now. That's the low part right there, and all of this, all of this right here was lower than everything else. And there's a little part right here. I don't know if you could see that. It's right there. That part is low still, and I can't sand that much. I won't be able to fret it afterwards. So anyways, I sanded it to the point where I feel that I could fret it now. So, and I think that was my problem, that I couldn't. I had low spots. I had fret buzz. I just couldn't get it to play. And I'm not trying to knock on Warmoth, because I've bought like 8 necks, 8 bodies, and I haven't had a problem. And when I just got the neck and when I set up the guitar, there was a problem, and I called them, and they told me to send it to them, and I did, and they paid for shipping both ways, and they said nothing's wrong with it, it's not warped. Well, they didn't check this part, and then later on, before I removed the frets and I used my notch straight edge, I realized that it wasn't straight. The fretboard, it wasn't true. So when I would use this, I would see gaps on the fretboard. So that was a big deciding factor to remove the frets. And then I sanded the fretboard with the appropriate tool, or the correct tool. And what I did is I already had these right here. This is a 9.5 radius sanding block, if you will, right? So this actually goes here perfectly. I had a smaller version of it, and I bought this at Stuart McDonald, and when I refretted a separate guitar, something didn't turn out right, and then later on I figured out that this knot here had something to do with it. And then when I would compare if it was true, it was not. It was, look at that, it's crooked, it warped. These things warp, and that's why I bought the metal one. But I mean, I called them up and I told them about it and they gave me a new one, but I can't use it. I won't use this anymore. I would never use a wooden leveler to shape the frets or the fingerboard. I would only use this. This one is true. Okay, so if you're gonna do it, invest on the right tools. Don't use stuff like this. This doesn't work. This is, someone doesn't want to spend the money and buy this, and they use this, and this is wrong. And I've seen so many ridiculous videos on YouTube that I just had to do this video. Okay, so again, so I remove the frets, and I'm not gonna go over the frets. A lot of guys remove the frets by using this tip right here, right there, and that takes forever. See, I use this part. This part right here works faster, so I just lay it on there like for 5 seconds, and then 5 seconds on the side. So I take 5 seconds here, here, and here, and then you touch it, it's hot. So you want to use this part, not this part. The more surface area that you touch, the faster it will conduct heat. It's smaller, takes longer. Larger, faster. Okay, so it kills me when they use this and solder. I'm like, it's right here. This is what you want to use. Anyways, I'm not knocking those guys. I'm just telling you the best way to do it, in my opinion. So you remove the frets, sand the fingerboard, right, if you have to. Now, my fingerboard is going to get as best as it can be, and I'm pretty sure that after I install the frets, it's gonna feel incredible. So now you want to prep steps ahead. So for example, I already sanded the fretboard, and obviously I'm going to refret it. So I make sure that my slots are clean and they're the right width or depth. I'm sorry. So I use this tool right here to go into the fret slots. So this works great. This tool right here. You have to be careful because it really takes a lot when you use it, as far as a lot of material. So now this is 9.5. Now you need fret wire, and you want to have that preset. So for example, I got this from Warmoth. I've always buy my fret wire from Warmoth, and that's all I use. This is 6100, and there's no special reason why. It's just I buy all my stuff there, and that's where I get it. So anyways, these are 6100 frets. These are their gold fret wire. I think they're the same as EVO, and they have a hardness of 250. The silver, copper, or I can't remember what they're using on these other type. This one right here. This is the hardness on here is 200. This is 250, and stainless steel is 300. So it comes pre-radius, right? But when I checked it on my 9.5, it seemed a little too. It seemed like it was 9.5, and I wanted it just a little bit rounder, so when I push it in, it'll push out and seat on there. So I wanted the ends to make sure it touched the ends of the fretboard. So again, like I've been mentioning, but you need the right tool. So I have one of these, and I radius the fret wire with this here. So this might be 7 1/4 or 7.5 right here. So it's a little bit more round than what the fretboard is, and that's what I want. I did that purposely. So here's what you need. So I've seen people install frets, and this right here looks really straight, you know, compared to, like, for example, I've seen a Gibson get refretted, and I know the radius on a Gibson is 12, but this seemed too straight for that, you know, and you want to do it right because you want this thing to go inside and go in and stay there, right? So like I said, you need to plan ahead. So now I have my fret slots clean. I have the fret wire. I'm not going to need this right now, right? Because I'm going to install frets. So I'm going to get this out the way. And I'm going to come back and go over my other tool that you need. Okay guys, I'm back. Now, to install the frets, you need a fret press, right? And you need the correct radius insert for that. So for example, this is Wow, this is a 6. This is 9.5. So this is the one I want to be using right here. I remove them from here because if I don't, and this comes down, it'll hit right here and destroy this part here. Or I have a little piece of wood, I'll leave it there so it does come down. It's not going to ruin this piece here. And they're not that expensive, they're like $5. But I don't like to buy things that I don't need to buy over again. So here's your fret press. And I know not every guitar you're able or have the luxury of removing the neck and putting it on this cradle here and, you know, doing your thing. You need a hammer sometimes. And I have one of these. And this is, I'll use this on a Gibson Les Paul until I can't, and then I'll go to the hammer. But what you want to do, you want to make sure is that when you use the hammer on the lower or on the higher frets over here, you want to make sure that where you're hitting is sound. It's a sound spot where you hit it and there's no bounce. It's like that's why they have dead blow hammers, because it just pushes in. It doesn't bounce back. It's not springy, right? I've seen guys on YouTube where they grab the fretboard, they grab the neck, and then they start tapping it with it like this, you know, and then they finish their guitar, they string it up, and then they give a thumbs up like that's okay, you know, maybe, but highly unlikely. So again, I'm not trying to knock on other guys, you know, if they like it, okay, great, but you know, when you think about it, it's the wrong way to do it, because you need support, you need some weight back here. It needs to be a dead blow onto the neck. It just has to hit, push it in there, right? So what I do is when I'm ready, I use glue with like I ordered this the other day from a guy, I think he's in Washington, and he sends glue, and the reason why he sends glue in a bag and he covers the thing up because it's sensitive to light. So, but I use new glue every time, and I use that little nipple that has a really fine tip at the end, but I can actually insert into the slot. I do that, right? So sometimes I get help from my kid, from my son, and what we do is when we start on the first fret, I have the fret ready, I install the glue, I put the fret in, and then I push down and I keep it there. Excuse me. I hold it down. Excuse me. You know, something like that. You want to have full contact on the wood, like I mentioned earlier. So, like right there. So I push down on it, not too hard, but enough to where I see the fret come all the way inside, and then I use my accelerator for my glue to try, you know, instantly, if you will. I have that too. So what I do is I put the glue, I press it in, then I hit that accelerator to dry up the glue. Then I remove the neck and I double check on the fret, because why would I move forward if my first fret is not seated correctly? So I make sure that it is. So you don't want any gaps in here. Okay, so as I go along, I'm going to show you guys, and I just wanted to go over the tools with you guys, and I hope you guys are not bored yet. So anyways, so like I remember earlier I said you want to plan ahead. So what I have this right here. My 15-year-old made this for me. I'm not even sure what kind of wood it is, but anyways, you get the fret wire, right? And you guys have seen this already many times. And you start in the bottom, because the bottom piece, if you cut it wrong, it might work up here. If you cut here, it's not going to work over here because it's too small now, right? So let's say we're up here now, right? So this is the 14th fret. You know, you cut it and you put it in the 4-2 slot, right? Pretty basic stuff. So now you have here all your 22 frets. You're ready to go. And you put your stuff away, and you just double check one more time. Sorry about that, my dog. You check one more time what's going on here with your fretboard. Make sure it's clean. Nothing fell in here. I have an air compressor, and I just blow the air out of there, and then I'm ready to go. So I'm going to pause it. I'm going to combine all these videos together to make one big video. So now I'm going to pause it, and I'm gonna go ahead and cut the fret wire. But one quick advice on fret wire. These are, I bought these. I think I bought these at CE Distribution. I can't remember. I have 2 sets. But anyways, when you use these right here, is it in the camera? When you use these right here, don't use them like this. Don't go like this. I'm out of the shot right here. Sorry, guys. Don't go on the top, because if you go on the top and when you cut the bottom part, this part right here, on the bottom part when you're cutting, it's gonna nick your fret, and then it's gonna create a gouge where you're gonna have to like really level the fret in that area, right? And you just can't do that, or you have to do everything. So when you cut, you want to cut like this, or be very careful. Just don't lay these things on there. Just, you know, just kind of go away from it. Don't just lay on it. And I learned the hard way, so that's why I'm teaching you guys, so that you guys won't have to make that mistake. I come in from the bottom now, as best as I could. You know what I mean? So I do this measurement. I'm right on top of it. This thing's out of my way, so I have a better sight, and then I cut it. Okay, so I don't think I'm gonna videotape me cutting the frets, because I just went over it, and when they're done, I'll probably go over it just the way I explained, and you'll see the frets on here, and well, you'll actually see them here, and I'll remove a fret and kind of go over it one more time. Okay, so then when I get to that point, I'm gonna go ahead and get the glue out and go over it one more time, like I talked about earlier, how I'm gonna do it. And then I'm gonna videotape maybe 3 or 4, and then pause it and do the whole thing, and then come back and show you what tools you need to continue after that process. Okay, so hey, thanks a lot guys for sticking around still. If it's getting a little bit boring for you guys that know what you're doing, apologize, and thanks for tuning in. Okay, I'm back. So here we have the 22 frets that I just finished cutting. Like I mentioned earlier, I started from the 22nd fret and worked my way back to the number 1 fret. So again, like number 22 right here, I make sure this nicked. No, this is just clear from the tape. So I make sure that I have enough of the tang sticking out, so when I file this down, you can see the tang on the bottom. Because if you don't, and it's missing the tang on one of them, it just doesn't look right. It looks terrible. So you want to make sure that the tang is extending out to the point, or the whole thing, the crown and the tang, to the point where when you use your file to even it out with the neck, you can still see the tang. Because trust me, it looks terrible if not. Okay, one other thing, when you're cutting these right here, find a really bad one. That doesn't matter. When you cut these, like I mentioned earlier, you don't want to. Here, let me give you an example. I'll use it alongside. So if you go like this, if you rest this on there, I want you to see what it looks like this. See how much you have? Oops, sorry. See how it's on here? That's where it's going to gouge your fret. See, so you don't need to go all the way down and rest it on there. You just go over there and you gauge it like this, right there, right? And then you want to keep it straight. You don't want to bend it. You don't want to bend this, because when you cut it, sorry guys, see, when you cut it, you don't want the tang to bend. You want it straight. And just to let you know, this is the silver copper fret right now, and wow, what a big difference. This thing cuts so easy. I'm going to rest it like the way you shouldn't do it, like I was talking to you earlier. So you see where it nicks. So I'm going to put it all the way down to a rest here, and then I'm going to cut. right? Let's see if it nicked it. If there's a nick. No nick. Okay, oh, it's right there, a little small one. I'm not sure if you could see it on there. You could just barely feel it. We don't want anything on there. But anyways, where I was getting at with the silver copper, it's so easy to cut this. And then I'm just realizing that now because I've never used that EVO stuff. This is easy. This EVO stuff is really hard. Right now when I was cutting it, I was like really adding some force there to cut this. And if you remember earlier, well, I'm not sure if I showed you this, but I had 3 of these right here. And what I have remaining is 1 and a little bit more than a half. So I could do another neck with this. And this was, I believe, $27 at Warmoth, guitar bodies, parts, and stuff like that. So here we go. I have 22 frets. They are gold all the way through. They're not just top coat with gold. The whole thing is gold color. So what I'm going to do now, I am going to clean the fretboard, and you don't need to see that. I'm just gonna clean it real quick and use my air compressor to like push some dirt if there's anything in there. And then for one more last time, I'm gonna grab my little neck, the little box I have here that helps me. That helps me with determining. Excuse me, I just hit the camera. I'm gonna grab a 10. That's 19. Here, I'll find something thinner than that. 19, 20. I could even use this. See this right here? See that? I have one cut up already. There. Where is it? I don't have it. It's here somewhere. I have one that's cut in half that I use as a little broom, if you will, to push stuff out of the way. So if you could see this is that stuff I got from CE Distribution, and I'll just run it by in like this. It fits right in there. There's nothing in there. I'll just do this because there's no reason. I'm gonna double check this one. It doesn't look like it's going low right here. It's probably glue. So that's why I checked that. See, I don't know if you could see that, but this one is not seating right there. Watch this. Then it goes up right here. See that? Look. See that right here? I gotta take care of that part. So anyways, I do that to every fret. This is good. Every fret slot, I'm sorry. That's good. That's good. And that's good. So I'll do that to every fret to make sure that when I install the fret, I am not gonna have a problem. Because that's the time you don't want to find out right here. So I'm gonna leave this right here to remind me it's that one. I'll grab this I don't even know the name of this tool here. I think it's a fret slot something, and it's 0.5 millimeter, right? So and that's what it looks like. So I'm going to go up to this section here where I know there's a problem, and I hope you can see that part. Let me move a little bit that way. So I'm going to hit it right there. Oh, yeah, you can feel there's something there. So let's find out. Let's see, did that work? Good. Good. So who knows? I have no idea what it was, but it went away. So I check all of these. I check them all to make sure that everything's good. So anyways, I'm not going to do this. I'm not going to record this part here. This is self-explanatory. You want to make sure that you could insert the tangs in there all the way. And also what I also did was I grabbed this 9-inch 9.5 radius thing here I got from, where did I buy this from? I can't remember. This is 9.5 right here. And what I do, if this black line disappears, that means my fret tang will fit. See that? It's kind of, these fret tangs are pretty big. And it's right at that border, right at that, underneath that line. Right, and this is the correct radius. So what I do is I insert it, and if that line disappears, that means that the entire fret tang will go inside. So here, sorry, Okay, having a little hard time here. See, so that disappears on that side. So I got to go over it one more time, and I'm not going to show that. There's no reason to. So you see how it disappears there, and it just disappears there. So I'm going to hit it again with that tool, that fret slot tool I have. But it should just automatically disappear. So these frets might be. I had this neck in my garage, and it took a little bit of humidity, and it probably swelled up a little bit. So again, I gotta check the fret slots one more time, and just so that you know, when I combine all these videos, it's not gonna be for one day. This is like 2 days. Tuesday 6:30, and I'm gonna continue tomorrow, which will be Wednesday, and I'll continue on Thursday. So by Friday I should have all the sections. So again, I'm gonna check the fret slots, and then when I turn this camera back on, the fret slots are gonna be done. The fret press is gonna be here. I'm gonna have the glue ready, my glue accelerator, and we're gonna start pressing frets in. Okay, thanks for staying tuned, guys. Hey guys, I'm back. I just want to show you how I install the 6th fret here. I'm using this glue here. I think from a guy on eBay. Here's that little nipple I was talking about earlier. It's as far as like a little extension to get them in the frets. So the way I do it is I prime this little section here first, and I make sure it gets to the tip before I get into the fret slot. And earlier I mentioned that, you know, you double check the fret slots so you can know the fret tangs and go all the way in. So what I do, I apply it like in, you know, 3 locations first. I always want to make sure I get the ends, and I'll just do like a little bit right here and a little bit right here. So right now I have like 5 sections, right? And this thing is really hard. This glue here is not the thin stuff. It's the, I think they call it filling glue, where it fills in voids. So here's my 5th fret. Right, here's my 5th fret here, ready to go with the radius on it. So what I do is I add it right here first. Obviously you have to set it. You gotta lay it in bed, I guess. Now make sure I have enough tang sticking out, and I'm not sure how good this image is on that camera, guys, so I apologize. So right now, that fret has tang sticking out here and here. I'm just gonna go ahead and cradle the fret right now. I always double check going down. And like right now, I'll just get on my knees right here, and then I'll just press the fret. But what I want to do is make sure I have enough of this stuff here. So like this, it could be nice and flat. So I'll go back here. I'll make sure that it's in the center, right there. And then I'll push down, and I felt it right just now go in. And I'll just keep it down like that for like 15 seconds, right? For this thing to cure. And I couldn't see what time frame this glue, this crazy glue bonds, because there's like 15, 30 and stuff. I like using the 30 stuff, but I wasn't sure what that says. So here's my accelerator. I put tape over it because it might be sensitive to light. So it's a solvent actually. So I just try to spray a little bit, because if you put a lot, see, it just splashed over to the other side of the fret. So now I push down, hold for 15 seconds. And the only reason why I hold it down is so the glue could bond to the fret, and I'm giving it 15 seconds. When you add accelerator, they say it bonds instantly, but because the glue's inside of a slot, I'm depending on the fumes of this accelerator to make its way over there. So hopefully it does. So now what I do is that's probably 15 seconds. I come back up, I get this rag I have, and I clean the frets that are next, the fret slots, and I clean up a little bit here. And for some reason, sometimes the fret doesn't get seated all the way inside. So what I do is I'll grab this filler gauge, that thickness, and I'll check where I'm at. See, I feel like it goes in just a tight bit, just a little bit on that side. And here too. So what I'll do now is I'll put it on the floor where I know it's solid, and I'll hit it with the hammer. So then I'll double check, because I don't want them to be at all any gaps, because when I level the frets, they're not all going to be the same. So that's why I make sure that they are before I level them. Okay, so this is just backup to the backup, if you will, and my filler gauge is right here. Now check, and it worked. It does not go in at all, so that's awesome. See, so it went in, and it's not a little bit here on the side, so I'm going to hit that right here. So let me try that again. Sorry about that. I'm getting a lot of, like, if it didn't get pushed in there for some reason. So let me use this again here, and I am going to push on it, but I'm going to bring it out towards this way where the end of the radius ends, and hopefully that helps push it down. So do that to it for a second. Hopefully it does, because especially at the end, you don't want to have a gap right there. That's, that's not good. If I can't seat it, I'm going to remove it, because I want it to seat inside that slot. And, and after pounding it, if it doesn't, well, then there's a problem. I could do it another way too. I could get a clamp that I have, clamp it, and make sure I'll be able to test it still and see if the gap is closed. If it is, then I'll add crazy glue, the thin stuff, where it could penetrate in there. So that's where we're at. Here we go. So it's good. It worked. So here we go. We're in. Right. So now 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 frets are leveled. They're smooth. Right. And because I'm getting a little bit of problem of the frets sitting or seating all the way inside. What I could do after I'm done with the entire fretboard is get my radius block, put it on there, clamp it, then put it on its side, then add thin glue. Like 2 drops. Turn it around. I hope you can see this, guys. Sorry, let me back up here. So I'll clamp it and just add it in the slots on its side, and I'll just leave it there overnight. And then I'll work on it the next day. But so far, I'm not sure what those other guys do in those other videos, but you just see them like hammer the frets in. Some guys do actually have one of these, and they don't show those other little parts that could be a problem later on. And I do, and what I've learned from doing this or watching other guys, videos, like there's a guy named Freddy Frets who adds the glue afterwards. I don't like doing that. I like putting the glue on, and then I know how long it takes for it to bond, and I'll hold the pressure and I'll leave it there. And as you see now, you still have a little bit of problems doing that. So I had to hammer this part in, and it went in, and then I pushed it again, and that ended up pressing it in. So okay, so off camera I'm going to go ahead, I'm going to install them, and I'm going to double check. If there's a problem like I mentioned earlier, I'm going to put the radius block on here and press it in with some clamps that I have, and add a little bit of glue. But when I'm done, I'm going to check all of them, 3 spots. because I want it to seat correctly. So when I use my fret tool, like something like this, where a file goes in here to bevel the frets, I could be confident that they're level. And then I'll use this tool first, right, to get the fret wire as close as possible to the fretboard, and then I'll add my file here, which is at 30 degrees, then create that 30-degree bevel. But I want to go ahead and jump and go to the other part. There was some clarification on some of the stuff. Well, I'm going to have some clarification on some of the stuff I said earlier, because I have a tendency of speaking really quick, and sometimes when I do that, I only understand what I'm saying, so I apologize. So, again, I'm going to go ahead and install the frets off camera, then I'll come back. Hey guys, I'm back. It's the next day actually, so I just want to cover some of the stuff that I said that was probably said too quickly, or I mumbled actually when I was speaking. But when I mentioned something to the effect that I bought 8 bodies and 8 necks, I didn't buy them the same day. Throughout a period of 17 years, I've bought many Warmoth bodies and necks, and this is my first one that I could actually complain about. But I'm not gonna complain to them because, well, they know about it, but you know, they have a good track record with me, and so it's not like that big of a deal because I could fix it. So that was one thing. Also, on the fret wire that I mentioned that I only buy fret wire from them, that's because I know it's I always buy 6100 frets, which is the jumbo ones. So if I have any lying around in the 600, I know I could interchange them. Although there is a tolerance, but I always check that. But there's another company that sells frets, and they're cheaper. They're the same width, but the height is a little, like 0.02 of an inch smaller, which is not a big deal. But I don't like buying frets from different places, because then it varies. It won't be the same. So if I put like Warmoth frets here and this other company frets here, I'm gonna have to do a lot of sanding here because these are lower. So these are all the same width and height, and I always buy my frets at Warmoth. And like, again, there's nothing special about them other than I want to be consistent with what, you know, I use. That's basically it with that. Now, before you sand the fretboard, you want to make sure that it's straight, because if not, when you saw your frets, you're gonna have a problem. So I didn't mention that earlier. So what I do is, after I remove the frets and I clean it up a little bit, I mess with the truss rod right here, and I get it straight as possible, and I use my straight edge to double check that I have no gaps, and then that tells me that the neck is straight. And then I do a few passes when I sand, clean it up, and I double check again. I always check that, make sure that the fretboard or the neck is straight, because if not, excuse me, it's gonna come out wrong. And I don't want to be one of those guys that screws up the job and then goes like this, like it came out perfect. Okay, when I was talking about the glue, here's my accelerator. I put in a little bottle. I want to talk about that in a second. The glue that I use bonds between 10 and 20 seconds. If you could pick a glue, try to get a glue that bonds in 20 to 30 seconds to give you more time to set the frets. Because I had a problem up here setting the frets, and I had some of them sticking up for some reason, but I kind of figured out why. So try to get a glue that bonds in 20 to 30 seconds. You really don't have to use this right here. Just wait. Just keep pressure on it and wait for 20 to 30 seconds for it to bond, then let go if you're using a press. Okay. Then I said something to the effect that when you use these cutters here, and you happen to nick your fret and you gouge it, and I said you can't only do this, you have to do all of them. So what I meant by that was, if I gouge this fret right here, let's say, and let me go back into this to the shot. Okay, I gouge this fret right here, the 8th fret, and none of these other frets are gouged. Well, when I level the frets, that's my goal, to hit that part. And to this is level, the gouged one. I'm sorry, I was over here. The gouged fret, then, you know, and that depends if I have frets that are lower than the gouge, which, I mean, that's getting too complicated. But if I gouge this fret and everything else is level, that means I have to level the frets until I get rid of the gouge. And that's what I meant by that. I just kind of speak too quick sometimes. Okay, so I didn't show installing the frets because, I mean, it's too easy. You know what I mean? You add glue. Make sure this is in the right spot. Your this thing here, when it's on the press, you make sure it hovers right over it, right? Yuri, and put the glue on, and you push it down, and you want to make sure that it seats right on there. You're right on top of the fret, right? And you want to look, and you want a bird's eye view. You want to look to the side and make sure you're on top of it, and then you push down. But you don't want to take your time because your glue is going to set between 10 and 20 seconds, at least the one I had. So you push down on it and you count. I count to 30. Right, so I'm done. I had a problem right here. Yeah, this is it right here. Actually, I took a long time is in seconds here when you're doing this, guys. I took too long to set it, and then when I did push it in, the glue on this side had set already. And when I was done, the fret it popped up, and when I came back and I did a little dry press without adding anything to it, it kept on popping up. So I was like, okay, what happened? So then what I did is I put it on the side like this, and I put glue, crazy glue, the original crazy glue. This stuff right here is just crazy glue, and it's really thin, so it ran inside the fret slot, and then I put it back down like this, and then I pressed it and held it for 30 seconds, and then it stayed there. Now, I had about 3 frets that did that, and that worried me because when I start sanding the frets down here to make them flush with the neck, I'm afraid that force is gonna maybe knock them out again. Okay, so I'm gonna keep my eye on that, and those are little things that you want to pay attention to, because the last thing you want is that you're done, and everything's crowned and it looks great, and you start playing it and this bad boy pops up. So what I'm going to do after I use this tool right here to bring down the fret ends and flush them, I'm going to put my radius metal block I have, clamp this as hard as I could, and then drop a little bit of that glue, the light, thin stuff, and that's just as backup, guys. That's just so I won't get any problems later on. Okay, so I'm pretty sure you guys are familiar with this tool. It popped up many times on YouTube, and this is one tool that you could use right here. I bought this from Stuart McDonald, excuse me, about 15 years ago, and I used it like maybe 14 times. I make my own now. I don't have one that I made already. I let my friend borrow it, but I basically buy this right here. It's polypropylene type plastic. So what I do is I do a 30 degrees, just like the Warmoth ones. Like all my Warmoth necks are 30 degrees. So I get the cut here, I break the file, I make sure that I adjust this to the right height, I cut that, glue it, and then that will give me 30 degrees. Right? So then tomorrow I'm gonna go to my buddy's house, and he's gonna cut a 90-degree slot here, so I could do this job without using this. So I'll just set it down. Right, I'm gonna make a big one here. I'm gonna use one of these. So set it down here, and then just do this to it. Right, using one of these, and then flip it over. Then I'll do the 30 degrees. Right, but I'll do that tomorrow. I'm not gonna show that. I'm just gonna use it till later on. But a little bit of advice of using this. don't work too hard. And if you have a lot, if you left a lot hanging out of here, a lot of frets. Okay, we're talking about frets right now. Okay, when I say if you left a lot, so if you have to work because you left a lot of material, don't start off like this. If you're gonna go a little aggressive on it, do it the opposite way. Do it the frets away, because if you go really hard like this and this thing jumps out, it's gonna go this way because you're here, you know. So for example, like right now, I don't have to go too hard. I just kind of do it slow. Right, this is pretty simple right here, right? Something like this. My fingers touching the fretboard right here with these fingers here. So I keep it like that. The fretboard keeps me like aligned, if you will. My fingers keep me aligned with the fretboard. So I just use this right here. And I'm not going aggressive right now. I'm just doing this. Right? So if I was going aggressive, I would be going something like this. Right? Do something like that. So you can, but you don't want to do it for too long, and I'm going to tell you why. Because if you look at the frets, the fret tang, and hopefully we could see right there. If you do it too much, the ends right here, depending on how hard you do it, you could have like metal shavings going one way, or the opposite way, which will be this way, because the way you're forcing that file onto here. So earlier when I said when you go aggressive, go like this. Okay, when you're almost done, flip it over, and then go light this, and then that way your frets will look like. Let me find one that I already grounded a little bit. You want them to look like. Oops, sorry. That's a problem when you have something in the background. There we go. You want it to look like something like this fret right here. That's how you want them to end up. Just, I'm not done. It's going to look better than that. But you want it like that. You don't want the tang going one way and the crown, the top part here going the same way. And you want them to end up like that, but flush onto the neck. Okay, so that's my advice with using this tool right here. When you're using this tool, when I'm done with it, when you're doing the bevel, you don't have to worry too much, because I always go like this too, to prevent this part from hitting the fretboard. But when you're doing the fret ends with the flat, with something like this, be careful that you don't jump up, because if you do with the homemade one, unless you ground the ends, then you're gonna jack up your frets so bad. So you want to ground this, and maybe even round it off. Or just take your time. It's not an emergency. Just take your time and do it. Okay. So that's my advice for that. I'm gonna do it. You guys don't have to see me do it on camera. It's pretty simple. I mean, anyone could do it. It's such a simple job. You want to do it and stop to where you're taking off a little bit of that varnish. And right now I have my thumb as a protector right here. And it's using me to, it's like a little guide, if you will, because it touches the fretboard. So I do this. And you don't need this cradle, okay? It's just there. So, just grab it, take some off slowly. Again, it's not an emergency. Take your time. You're kind of up here. Just take your time. I've seen guys on YouTube grab a file and go like this. I'm like, oh my God. Okay. And they do this, and it's a humongous file too. A file like this one, and then they get it like from Harbor Freight, and just get a good file. I normally don't I'm not promoting anybody, and to be honest with you, I really don't like these guys. But get a file from them. This is done, made correctly. It's actually comfortable. Just go ahead and use the right tool. I mean, I can't remember how much it costs, but instead of getting something like this, You know, and just get this. Simple. Or make your own. You know, this stuff here costs like $7 for 2 feet of it. And it's polypropylene. It's just the same stuff that they use, that Sir McDonald uses. You know, Sir McDonald sells a 7-inch one with a nice file. And I'm not sure if it's a combo one where you have two, a 90 degree and I think it's just a fret bevel, I'm sorry. So it's, I think theirs is like 35 degrees. And a 7-inch one costs, I think, $58. So you can make this for under $5. I'm sorry, no, the fret costs like around like $8. So for around $12, you can make a tool that they sell for close to $60, which it's ridiculous. It's it just blows my mind that they charge that much for that tool. And it's super simple stuff, you know. So I'm gonna continue to get these frets as close as possible, and I'm gonna take my time. I'm gonna pause the camera. I'm gonna turn on the radio, and I'm gonna do this for maybe 45 minutes. Again, I'm gonna take my time. That's why it's gonna take 45 minutes. And I'm gonna take my time because I don't want to have any hiccups. One other thing about this tool, if it does take off, these parts are grounded, and that's why this tool is good. This is a great tool. Same here and here. Right? So if it does jump, it would be like 98% unlikely that you're gonna gouge your frets. Okay? So, alright guys, sorry for boring you. That's just my advice. I could make a video where I could just add the lettering narrated on the bottom with words and stuff like that, and make it like a 8-minute video. But I think for someone that wants to learn how to do this and has never done it, he could always look at it and pick what he likes and use it for himself. So this tool is just my advice. There's guys that make their own tool and they swear to their tool is the best, and that's okay too. But this is just from my experience. I fretted maybe 12 guitars maybe, and that's not a lot of guitars to say I'm an expert. This is, like I said, this is just my advice. So if you guys want, I could actually show you guys how to make this tool after I'm done with this video, depending on how many requests I get. If I get a little, I won't do it. And it's super simple. And when I come back, I'm going to have the frets level to the ends here, the fret end level, something like that. That's what it's called, something like that. And after I do that, I'm going to show you guys how I add the bevel. I'll bevel this bad boy, then I'll make sure that it's straight, then I'll mark them, and then we'll level the top. Okay, so this video is going to be approximately 30 minutes long. So you guys have any questions, let me know in the comments. Please subscribe, and thank you for watching.